So there we have it then. Lewis Hamilton has finally equalled Michael Schumacher's all-time win record of 91. It was inevitable, wasn't it? We knew it was coming this season. It has finally come at Michael Schumacher's home country of Germany. And let's be honest, today's race was actually pretty good. I really enjoyed it. I don't know about you. There was plenty of drama. There was a couple of surprises, a few penalties, and quite a lot of DNFs as well, which was quite surprising heading into this weekend. So let's waste no more time. Let's jump straight into talking about the race, going through with each teams in the 2020 Formula 1 season, of course. So let's start off with Mercedes, and who, of course, won the race once again. Bottas got pole, which was another Mercedes pole once again this season. It's like, oh God, here we go again. But that's how it is in Formula 1 in 2020 this season. So the race gets underway, and really it was a good battle between Hamilton and Bottas heading into turn one. Cars going really wide, which a lot not just the Mercedes boys did, but everybody did as well. I think everyone's seen that as well when they were coming out the pits. You do go pretty wide into one, certainly on an off-camber kind of corner. It was quite deep as well. Good first corner as well. Hamilton trying to push Bottas just a little bit wide, but Bottas held his own. He fended off Hamilton, and then he goes away with it. And that's pretty much how it stayed throughout the majority of the race. But then Bottas locks up heading back into turn one on lap number 13, and Hamilton overtakes him. The camera I think David Croft says something like, there's Hamilton's gained a few seconds or a few tenths on Bottas, and the camera cuts to them and Hamilton's overtook Bottas, and it's like, whoa, hang on, what? Where did this come from? I thought Bottas had a 1.5 lead or something like that, and no, Hamilton obviously goes off and gets him. So because of the lock-up, Bottas obviously pits from softs to the medium tyres. Then therefore he was going for obviously the two-stop running. I think it was like lap 15, 16 round then, which was like the two-stop. And then if you go on to lap 20 or so, you're looking at about a one-stop for this race. So that's what Bottas did. But then he rejoins P4, then Bottas gets Daniel Ricciardo for P3. A little good tussle between those two as well. The virtual safety car comes out because, of course, George Russell, he parks up the car, he retires because of the incident with Kimi Räikkönen, which I'll talk about in a little bit. And Hamilton pits under the VSC. Good strategy call from Mercedes. I think Red Bull did the same thing as well. And then Bottas a lap later reports no power. Yeah, rather interesting, wasn't it? I believe Bottas had a power unit change overnight. I know Norris did, but I didn't hear Bottas did until the race got underway. So that was I'm actually just watching the race now. I'm sorry, big distracting, but Mick Schumacher's presenting Hamilton with what looks like a crash helmet from Michael Schumacher. Wow, yeah, that just caught me well off surprise. And anyways, back onto the race. That's an incredible moment. Wow, that's pretty cool. I think Hamilton got a Senna tribute helmet when he beat his record in Canada in 2017, his pole position record, that is, or equalled it, I think it might have been. So Hamilton, of course, wins the Grand Prix. Bottas DNF'd qualifying. Hamilton, of course, started second. Bottas finished in first place. And yeah, then of course the safety car gets deployed. Hamilton pits once again from mediums to the softs and runs then till the very end of the race. Pretty straightforward from Mercedes, wasn't it? You know, you had the threat from Max Verstappen, which of course, you know, he looked quick at the weekend. He looked like he was going to get pole, and then unfortunately he didn't. So let's move on to Red Bull, which on my notes, I've got a lot of notes, by the way. I don't know if you can see that. About Albon. That's literally all my notes are on, apart from Max pits, Max gets a bad restart. Everything else is about Alexander Albon, who had a shocking race. He really, really did. I've just got a clear review there. Yeah, it looks like a Mercedes helmet from 2011, 2012, I think it might have been. That crash helmet. Anyways, back onto this. So yeah, Albon has a really bad start to the race. He locks up into one, and then Ricciardo overtakes him, and then I thought Albon would have held his line into turn two because it's a long left-hander, and I'm thinking, go on Albon, you know, just hold that line. I just thought Albon wasn't aggressive enough. I mean, that could be because he had little confidence in the tyres. There wasn't enough temperature because it was a cold afternoon. Let's not forget. So I was surprised Albon wasn't a bit more aggressive. And then he does try to have another move, but locks up, nearly goes into the back of Ricciardo. Another lock up within 3 corners. And that was the theme for Albon. Just lock up after lock up after lock up. He locks up his time. He pits on lap 8, which caught me by surprise. Lap 8 was like, whoa, this is very, very early. I'm expecting lap 15 or even longer if Red Bull want to play the long game. He comes in, softs to the mediums on lap number 8, but then it's determined that, well, when they took the wheels off, you could see it on the front left tyre, there was a flat spot, which of course happened when he nearly hit. Well, they did make slight contact, but it wasn't anything significant. But yeah, that was the reason why they pitted Albon on lap 8, and then he just does it again, doesn't he? Albon later on in the race, he locks up. And then that's what pretty much caused his DNF. Well, that wasn't the main reason why. Apparently there was some sort of engine problem, power unit problem, which has caused his DNF. But, I mean, and of course as well, on lap 17, he hits Daniel Kvyat just before he retires. Kvyat goes wide into the last chicane, rejoins the track. Albon does the old switcheroo, as David Croft kept saying. And then Albon just moved across, totally unaware as to where Kvyat was, just oblivious. Now, I've been quite defendant of Albon this season. I really have been. I've defended him. I've said give him time. He needs this and he's that, and he's backing from Red Bull. I'm starting to lose patience. I really am. I'm looking at it going, mate, you are not helping yourself, especially with the likes of Perez, Hulkenberg, who are after drives for 2021. You're not helping yourself by any stretch of the imagination, mate. So yeah, you need to book your ideas up. Max had a pretty quiet race, qualified in 3rd place, got up to P2 because of the Bottas retirement. And yeah, then of course he pits under the safety car as well, from mediums to the softs. He also pitted under the virtual safety car the first time to go from softs to mediums. Pretty straightforward. But then after the safety car restart, Hamilton gets away, and Verstappen was quite vulnerable from Daniel Ricciardo and very nearly got overtaken by his former teammate. But as Verstappen does, drove well, fended him off as you would expect. And yeah, Max Verstappen had a really good race, one of my drivers of the day. Solid job from Max Verstappen, keeping up with Mercedes boys as he has been doing this season. Ferrari next. Let's talk about Charles Leclerc, one of my drivers of the weekend, despite being no Friday running. But still, though, in FP3, he got P3, which was pretty impressive. P5 in qualifying, P7 in the race. Now, don't let that determine thinking Charles Leclerc had a bad race, because let's not forget what he's driving here, ladies and gentlemen. He's driving a donkey of a car, which someone said on Twitter as well, which made me laugh. I can't remember who it was, but someone said something like, he's driving the Shrek from Donkey. The donkey from Shrek, the car. I don't know who said it, but it was pretty funny. Anyways, so where are we at? So obviously Charles Leclerc, he pits on schedule to go from the soft to the medium compound tyres. He had a good little scrap with a few drivers as well. And like I said, qualifying, he just got the best out of his car as well. And Charles Leclerc is just out driving that car to absolute bits. Charles Leclerc was doing pretty well, defending a few drivers as well behind him. I think it was one of the Renaults he was defending. He did pretty well, but of course he got overtaken. Then he goes off in pits from soft to mediums. Vettel, on the other hand, we all know how much he is struggling this season. Spins at turn 1. He, of course, goes from the medium compound tyres. He started on the medium compound tyres. He, of course, qualified outside of the top 10. So, therefore, he was able to choose what tyres he could be able to start on. He's obviously he spins after a battle with one of the Alfa Romeos, I think it might have been. Goes left, goes right, and then the rear loses. Obviously, he loses the rear, goes off into the gravel or off into the runoff area. And that's pretty much game over as well. He goes on to the hard tyres. Very unknown strategy as well, because the hard tyres haven't been ran this weekend because there was no FP1 or even FP2 running on the Friday. So that's normally when you'll be able to see the hard tyres being ran. Charles Leclerc, he had a pretty good job as well. He overtakes Gasly for P7 on lap 28. He then pits from mediums on a brand new set of mediums. Rejoins P10 from P5. Starts overtaking folk. Gets Kimi Raikkonen for P8, and then late braking, decent overtake on his teammate Sebastian Vettel into turn 1, out of nowhere, late braking, douche, fends him wide for P7, and that's where the Monegasque driver finishes the race. So, No, all in all, not a bad weekend for Charles Leclerc, and of course an awful weekend. Well, not awful, but just a bang average weekend for Sebastian Vettel. So let's move on to my team, McLaren, as you can clearly see. Good first lap battle with Perez for Lando Norris on the lap one. There was a lot of squabbling going on between those two as well. I really enjoyed seeing that battle as well. Sainz on lap 7 as well, Carlos Sainz gets told over team radio that there is light showers in a few minutes, which, hang on a minute, there was forecast for rain. You can see that there's rain in the distance. I think it sprinkled a couple of drops of rain. It was horrendous. Then my worst nightmares came to blow. Lap 26, Lando Norris says that he has loss of power, and you can clearly see that. Perez, he was gaining, but not massively. So I'm thinking, okay, there might be. I think there was talk of a sensor issue or something like that, like maybe a glitch in the system. But Norris knew there was something there because he kept banging on about it. He pits on lap 30. We think he's going to retire. McLaren as well, going for the one stop. They did really well going really deep into the Grand Prix. Didn't pit under the first virtual safety car, or the only virtual safety car, which other teams did. McLaren gambled on that, kept out, held the tyres really, really well. Sainz pitted first, soft to mediums. Then Norris pitted a lap later, soft to mediums. Still a complaint about no power. No deployment is what I am quoted he said, because he had no ARS deployment, no extra boost of power. So of course, a lap later after he pitted, Norris gets overtaken by Perez. And I'm not talking like a little duel or anything like, he just scraped past him. I'm talking just boosh. Gone. Mercedes 2014-esque. Just straight past him, no problem whatsoever. You'd think he was driving the Williams. No offence to Williams. For the 2019 Williams, I'll go with that, because you know how much of a bad car that is. So yeah, not a good weekend for Lando Norris. Well, good qualifying session as well, but poor race as well, because yeah, he did lose power, and he eventually DNF'd on lap 44, pulls over, which of course triggers the next safety car. Carlos Sainz finished P5, by the way, by starting in P10, so good showing from him. Good pace, good strategy from McLaren, good weekend all round. Could have been more. Yeah, unfortunately that wasn't the case. I mean, and of course with Renault doing what they did today, which they are my next team I'm going to be talking about. Yeah, as a McLaren fan, not a happy chappy, but still though, good race. Yeah. Anyways, so Renault as well, Daniel Ricciardo. Let's talk about Esteban Ocon first. Let's talk about Esteban Ocon. He qualified in P7, which was a good showing from Ocon. I have been quite critical of him in recent weeks, saying that he needs to do more. Today's race, he was okay, nothing really spectacular, but never mind. Had some good battles on shore. Decent drive, to say the least. Unfortunately, he has to pull it into the pits. He has a problem. He reports a problem, saying that he had no gears. Pulls into the pits, into the garage. That is his race over and done with on lap 23. And then Renault confirmed it was a hydraulic problem for Esteban Ocon. Daniel Ricciardo, the man of the moment, finally gets a podium for Renault. Renault's first podium since 2011 Malaysia with Nick Heidfeld. And Ricciardo's first podium since Monaco 2018. Incredible, wasn't it? I'm over the moon. I really am over the moon to see Daniel Ricciardo back on the podium. Big fan of Daniel Ricciardo. I'm going to be an even bigger fan when he comes to Woking next season. Down that was good strategy by Renault as well, ensuring that they are covered off from the racing point behind. Good tyres, good strategy. He pitted under the safety car, which helped him massively. So a good showing from the Australian. Racing Point, now, very interesting weekend, because Stroll was meant to be driving this weekend. However, he did fell ill on Saturday morning. Quick phone call, Otmar Zafnau to Nico Hulkenberg, who was in Cologne, by the way, just a few miles down from where the Nürburgring circuit actually is. He was going to be doing media duties for German TV. Not this weekend, Nico. We need you here ASAP. And ASAP, he got there. And I missed qualifying. I was at work yesterday, and I was just watching qualifying. The next thing you know, there's Hulkenberg. Like, what? What's happened here? Because obviously I missed the news. And then once qualifying's finished, I just don't look at social media till qualifying highlights are on. And I was like, oh, Hulkenberg's here. Hello, Hulkenberg. What's going on? It's not COVID, by the way. Stroll doesn't have COVID. He's had 3 tests. and that isn't the case. Stomach troubles apparently, but we do hope that Stroll does make a quick recovery and he's back in the car for Portugal in a couple of weeks' time. So Hulkenberg, what a race he had, and I'm gonna say it now. Driver of the day by a country mile. Honest to God, wow. Qualifying in P20. Now, yes, he just jumped into the car. He didn't have any running in FP3. He was on his way to the base for Racing Point to get seat fitting, get everything sorted, get a COVID test, get a seat adjustment, wing mirrors, all that stuff to his liking, of course. Qualifying P20 was a big order for anything more than that. It was an alright job. P8 in the race, guys. Wow. Good strategy as well. Good driving as well from Nico Hulkenberg. He went from he started on the softs, went to lap 31 on the mediums. That helped him a lot. Keeping his tyres, using all of his experience. Perez as well is another one who's actually being interviewed right now. Perez is another one who's very good at managing his tyres, and Hulkenberg as well. Though, well, not just Hulkenberg, but Perez as well. They did that very, very well indeed. Perez overtakes Norris with ease for P5, and then Perez went to overtake Charles Leclerc, but then Leclerc got him back because of DRS. I think it was out turn 14 or turn 13. I think it might have been 14. I'm sure he went to overtake him, but he overtake him just after the activation zone, which gave Charles Leclerc DRS. So yeah, he could have held the position, but unfortunately he didn't. Perez finished in P4, Hulkenberg finished in P8. A solid job. Perez could have been on the podium. He was chasing down Ricciardo. It just wasn't meant to be. Maybe after a couple of laps, a couple more laps. Hey, who knows what could have happened. But still though, decent job from Racing Point. Both cars in the points. And Hulkenberg gets another 4 points, I think he gets now. So, yeah, scoring more points than some of the people behind him who've been there since the first race of the season. So, yeah, for me, Hulkenberg, 100% driver of the day, in my opinion. I think he even got driver of the day by Formula 1 fans as well. Alfa Romeo, Kimi Räikkönen, of course, becoming the most experienced Formula 1 driver of all time. 323 Grand Prix, beating Rubens Barrichello's record of 322. He's over the moon by this record, isn't he? He couldn't give a damn, could he? and there's talk that he's going to be here next season as well, which he's never going to retire, is he? He's going to be here forever. He really is. Not a lot on Alfa Romeo. Giovinazzi gained 3 places on the first lap. Giovinazzi had a really good start. He's got a bit of a trend going on this season, you know, having good starts, gaining positions on the opening lap, a bit like what Lance Stroll did. Giovinazzi as well was also probably my driver of qualifying, or one of my drivers of qualifying in P14 as well. The first time he's got into Q2, and then at the very last minute he pipped Kevin Magnussen to start P14, and of course K-Mag started in P15. A guy who is driving for his life at the moment, driving for his seat, but unfortunately, too little too late, my friend, too little too late. Lap 11 I've got down here, Kimi Räikkönen pits on softer mediums. And then, of course, Kimi gets a 10-second time penalty for running into the side of George Russell, going into turn 1. Who's he called? Räikkönen. I think he just locks up a bit, doesn't he? Loses control of the car, slides into the side of George Russell. Because when the camera just panned to George Russell, he was just stationary. Oh, he's another spin into turn 1. What's going on here? But no, it was actually Kimi Räikkönen who got that 10-second penalty, which I believe he served. I think he served it. I'm not too sure. I think he did. Okay, so moving on to AlphaTauri, who were the only team to start both cars on the medium set of tyres. Of course, they were going for the long game. One-stop strategy was the order of the day for the Italian-based boys. Lap 17, I've got down here, Danny Kvyat runs wide at turns 13 and 14. Yes, that hindered his strategy for going for the long game, because you're looking about lap 35, roughly around that mark, if they can keep the tyres on shore, if they can manage the tyres well, or even lap 40 for that matter, to pit for them on the medium tyres, then go on the soft tyres at the end, if that was the game plan for AlphaTauri. That was whitewashed when Kvyat, of course, he went wide, he got hit by Alexander Albon, he then pits. There's a tattoo of the honey badger, which I think I don't know if fans are sending them in, but Cyril does not look amused about that. It's like a picture of obviously the honey badger with the name honey badger underneath. because obviously they're talking to Cyril about his tattoo. That's going to be interesting to see what he gets. Anyways, AlphaTauri next. So yes, Danny Kvyat has to do a full lap around the Nürburgring because he just missed the pit entry when Albon hit him. He pits for hards. Hard tyres weren't good this weekend. Nobody knew what kind of data that they had or the pace. So yeah, it was not that bad, but a brilliant move by Pierre Gasly on Kimi Raikkonen at the final chicane for P9. Very good job as well from the man of the moment, Pierre Gasly, who is also one of my drivers of the day. He's not the driver of the day, but if Hulkenberg wasn't there or if Stroll didn't do a good of a race, maybe Gasly could have been my driver of the day. Decent job, in my opinion. Qualified P12, finished in P6, showing everyone, look, this is what I can do. I am Pierre Gasly. Kvyat, P13 qualified, P15 he finished in the race, so never mind from the Russian driver. Haas, Kevin Magnussen, qualified P15, finished in P13, had a bit of a tussle with Sebastian Vettel towards the end of the race, which was pretty funny. Romain Grosjean finally scores points, his first lot of points this season, and his first points in Formula 1 since the German Grand Prix last year in 2019. At the very start of the race, he complained of his index finger, whichever one that is. No, I know which one it is. Where a bit of gravel hit his finger, which caused him a lot of pain during the race, which was at the very start of the race. So he had to race with effectively what could have been a broken finger. I don't know what the injury is, but it hurt, and of course it was cold, and yeah, from the I think it was a kick up of gravel from Kimi Raikkonen's car at the first lap. And then Grosjean stays on hards for under the safety car. He doesn't pit because he felt like there was still more temperature in the tyres, there was more grip in the tyres, there was more wear in the tyres. And Grosjean did a super job to finish in P9. Very, very well done. As well, in contention with, up there is one of my drivers of the day, honourable mention for Gasly, and an honourable mention for Romain Grosjean. And finally, Williams. George Russell, DNF, qualified in P17, misses Saturday, has a good Saturday, obviously no Q2 appearance, but never mind, still P17 of course, he's had an alright season so far. Yeah, he got a puncture, I wrote on it, he spins, got a puncture, but no, he got hit by Kimi, which ultimately caused him to spin, and he got a puncture. Well, he pulled over because there was too much damage to the car. Lap 15, Latifi pits from soft to mediums, and then I think Latifi pits towards the end of the race, going from mediums to the softs, I believe he did. P14 though for Nicholas Latifi after qualifying P18, so a decent job from those boys as well. So yeah, not a lot of showing from Williams this weekend, but nevertheless Williams doing really well, making good progress. Expect nothing much for the remainder of the season or even next season, but the future does pend well for the Grove-based team. So anyways, let's go through the final classifications for the 2020 Eifel Grand Prix. So as we know, Lewis Hamilton, of course, wins the Grand Prix, his 91st Grand Prix, equaling Michael Schumacher's all-time record. Wins next time out in Portugal, or even once for the remainder of the season, then he is the most successful driver in terms of wins with 92. Max Verstappen in P2, his former teammate Daniel Ricciardo in P3, decent podium as well. Sergio Perez, so close yet so far in P4. Carlos Sainz in P5, good job from the Spaniard. Pierre Gasly P6, solid job like I said earlier. Charles Leclerc P7, decent job from the Monegasque driver. P8, Nico Hulkenberg, driver of the day in P20. Yeah, solid job. This guy needs a seat. He really, really does. I'm all about the Nico Hulkenberg bandwagon in P8. He needs a seat. P9, Romain Grosjean, decent job, and Antonio Giovinazzi collects the final point in P10. Sebastian Vettel, qualified P11, he stays in P11, does the German driver. Kim Raikkonen in P12 on a record-breaking day for the Finnish driver. Kevin Magnussen in P13, Nicholas Latifi in P14, Danny Kvyat in P15, and your 5 retirements, your DNFs of today were Lando Norris, Alexander Albon, Esteban Ocon, Valtteri Bottas, and George Russell. Yeah, not a bad race. I thoroughly enjoyed that race. I don't know about you. I'm looking forward to the next race in is it Portimao it's called? Algarve? I don't know what it's called. In Portugal, but that's going to be an interesting race. A track that we've never been to, or we haven't been to in a long time. I've never seen a Grand Prix there in my lifetime, so it's going to be interesting to see. Nonetheless, a really good race. today from the Nürburgring. Hope we can come back one day. It's old school circuit. Love the old school circuits like we've seen in Mugello, and of course like we'll see with the likes of Imola, and of course in Portugal. 2 days running as well this weekend. A 2-day running session. No practice on Friday anyway. No Friday running practice. We only had Saturday and Sunday. So did it spice the order up? Not really. But hey, it might do in Imola, when we get there. So yeah, Lewis Hamilton matches Michael Schumacher's win record of 91 wins. Can he do it next time out in Portugal and hit that 92 mark? Let me know in the comment section below. And as always, let me know your opinions of the race in the comment section below. We'll respond to them as always. If you haven't already, then please like and subscribe and stick around with us as well. We've got a few changes coming up on the channel as well, and of course next week, no race week, a bit of a quiet week. We've got the news on Wednesday, we've got the debate show as well on Saturday. I might try and get a random video out during the week, just so a different kind of video for you guys as well, a break from the usual content that we do put out. Social medias are down below as well, so go and give us a like on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram as well. Watch what you're doing, guys. Stay safe as always. Today was a good race. Hamilton equals Schumacher's win record. What a legend. And I'll see you later, guys.